Kanye West, who is
Chicago.
making amends for his past transgressions. Kanye West is currently making the rounds, apologizing to all those that he hurt or offended in the past. He's going on press, I think it was the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. He wrote some article basically saying, I apologize. I love Jewish people. I don't love Hitler. I am not anti Semitic. He also apologizes to the black community, saying, I'm sorry that I let you down. So, Kanye is now attributing all of this over the past few years to a prolonged manic state in which he was not in his right state of mind. And I guess this is going to become an expose on mental health and all of this other stuff. But as he gears up, of course, to release an album, he is now on his contrition tour. He is now on his contrition tour to let people know that that's not who he really is,
Right,
and he
right,
wants to
right.
make amends and apologize for everything.
Right.
So this says Kanye West denies apology letter to black and Jewish communities is a PR move. This isn't who I am. So of course the context for this is in light of the fact that he has music coming out, people are wondering whether he is doing this just for, positive PR. Some people are speculating that this is disingenuous, and the only reason why he's doing it is to try to save face for the sake of the continuation of his music career and to maximize on the potential of this album that he has coming out. But he wants to refute that idea because he wants everyone to know that this is actually genuinely him. In an interview with Vanity Fair, the artist formerly known as Kanye West denied that his apology letter to the black and Jewish communities is a PR strategy ahead of the arrival of his new studio album, Bully. In a newly published interview, Ye answered several questions about his Wall Street Journal published letter, in which he claimed a 4-month manic episode destroyed his life and hit back against the idea that he apologized to revive his commercial viability. It's my understanding that I was in the top 10 most listened to artists overall in the US on Spotify in 2025, and last week at most days as well. My upcoming album, Bully, is currently one of the most anticipated pre-saves of any album on Spotify, too. My 2007 album, Graduation, was also the most listened to and streamed hip hop album of 2025. This, for me, as evidenced by the letter, isn't about reviving my commerciality. He said that he felt compelled to apologize because of the remorse he felt. These remorseful feelings were so heavy on my heart and weighing on my spirit. I owe a huge apology once again for everything that I said that hurt the Jewish and black communities in particular. All of it went too far. I look at wreckage of my episode and realize that this isn't who I am. As a public figure, so many people follow and listen to my every word. It's important that they realize and understand and it's important that they realize and understand what side of history, that's one of my favorite phrases, that I want to stand on, and that is one of love and positivity. He added that he didn't feel regret about his actions, which included releasing t-shirts featuring a swastika and recording a song entitled Hail Hitler, until he came out the other side of a manic episode caused by his bipolar type 1 disorder. He said that he's been making an effort to mend his relationships that were strained because of his behavior, which became increasingly difficult for many of his collaborators to justify over the last few years. Every day that I wake up, it's a checklist of everything that I said, at least what I can recall, while in a bipolar episode. All of the family bonds, deep relationships, and lifelong friendships that I worked so hard to build over so many years were all tarnished by all of the horrible statements that I made so impulsively. The antipsychotic drug took me into a really deep depressive episode. My wife recognized that, and we sought out what's been effective and stabilizing course correction in my regime. I don't know if he means regimen, from a rehab facility in Switzerland. He also explained that he's been at his most manic, that when he's been at his most manic, he would find himself not believing that he is in fact sick. You think that everyone else is deeply overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world so much more clearly on things, when in reality you're losing your grip entirely. That's what it felt like at that time. Let's see. In his letter, Ye said that his near fatal car crash in 2002 caused him to suffer neurological damage that went unnoticed at the time. He wrote that he's deeply mortified by his actions. I am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or an anti Semite. I love Jewish people. He also apologized to the black community and wrote, I am so sorry to have let you down. So we don't need to read the rest of that. That's pretty much the gist of what we have going on here. So yeah, bro, Kanye is trying to make amends, very similar to somebody who's in rehab, like an alcoholic who goes to meetings and all of that kind of stuff. Part of the rehab process is you have to make amends with those that you may have offended or impacted while you were abusing alcohol, for example. This kind of sounds a lot like that. So yeah, the floor is yours. What do you make of Kanye trying to make it clear that this is not for PR and that he actually means these things?
I mean, if clearly this has something to do with his album, he can say that it's not. Every time Kanye has an episode or anything like that, or a spiritual revelation or any damn thing, it's always centered around an album. This guy, at this point, one of the better things that I have is pattern recognition. I'm pretty darn good at pattern recognition. I keep a lot of receipts, as the people say, and I just log them in, right here in old noggin. And one thing that I've realized that Kanye has been doing is he goes viral for whatever reason, and then not too long after that, he's got an album coming out. Was part of this manic episode his spiritual awakeness, where he was out here, loving on Jesus and doing all this other stuff. But then right after that, having these sex-filled bars where he's just talking about the most egregious things ever. Was that a part of his manic episode? When did this manic episode begin? Did it only begin when the anti-Semitic stuff happened, or how long has this been going on? Because this honestly just feels like what he does. You can blame it on your bipolarism and say that this was going on here and this is going on there, but I don't know who he's fooling with any of that anymore. He's played this card so many times, not this card in particular, but he's played this card before of, again, doing or saying whatever to get on everybody's algorithm. And then, oh yeah, by the way, I got an album coming out, it's getting old. He's definitely has the philosophy of any publicity is good publicity. I brought up Machiavelli the last stream, but he has a real Machiavellian approach to branding and advertising, because he'll do or say whatever, morals be damned, just so he can get a lot of streams. So I'm not buying this. He can say that this is not to be more commercial. That's cap. He can say this has nothing to do with his album. That's cap. It's just one of those things where somebody is just they're already telling you what they're doing when they're said that they're not doing it. Who said you were doing that, Kanye? I could have assumed that, but there's this complex within himself to say that, okay, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's really about this over here. And it's just like, nah, I'm not going for that. It's the same stuff that he did for him creating his Christian stuff and his Christian label, all his Christian merch. He just wanted to exploit that community. Then he comes over here, he starts doing all this, anti-Semitic stuff and all this, hoopla. He really made a song called Heil Hitler. I mean, he really did that. Swastika merch, everything. He went full bore. So at this point, you're pissing off everybody. You're pissing off the people that you were actually offending with that. Then there were people actually backing you. Now those people are going to call you a sellout. So at this point, bro, who is going to be your real fans? I look at Kanye as a meme of a person. He has really gone from musical genius. He really had it all going for himself.
Yeah.
The narrative around him is that this guy's a musical genius or whatever type of genius. Now this guy has just become a meme of a human. Now he's the point and laugh at guy. He's the guy that there's going to be a documentary on about not how much of a genius he was, it was how much of a crazy man he was. So yeah, man, for a guy that was sitting on top of the world for quite a long time in the music world, has thrown it all away. I'm not buying this. I think this is just another PR stunt. Will I listen to his stuff? I will for, giggles. I'll just see what Bully's talking about. But I'm sure there's going to be sex, driven bars and deranged, crazy things being said in there too. So I can get a good laugh at it and go, yeah, this man's still off his rocker. So sorry, Kanye, not buying this. I do think it's a PR move. And I don't think you genuinely mean what you're saying. I don't think you ever genuinely mean what you're saying at this point, Kanye. But what are your thoughts, bro, on Kanye West coming out and formally apologizing, saying that, hey, man, this was all part of a manic episode? What are your thoughts, bro?
As an individual who has firsthand experience being around someone who's close to him while they are experiencing a manic episode, I can empathize with that notion
Mm-hmm.
because I've been through it.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, I learned for the first time that someone I'm very close to in my family has struggles with this very thing. And I can attest to the fact that it's not made up. I was around them for about a week,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like I was around a completely different human. I
Mm-hmm.
almost didn't recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real thing. I've been through that. So I get it. However, as much as I can empathize due to my personal experience with it, I also at the same time wish that he wasn't doing this in advance of an album coming out. Because there's an aspect of this that just feels like, even if it isn't, I can't help but wonder whether you would be doing this if there was no album coming out. Like,
Right.
would you be compelled to make amends if you didn't stand to gain something via your album coming out? Like, let's say you have no projects in the pipeline and you just are experiencing this fresh moment of clarity and you've gained the mature wherewithal to deal with your challenges head on. But there's no press you got to do, there's nothing you're promoting, you don't have no projects, you don't have no fashion lines to do, you don't have nothing going on. You're just walking out of the rehab center with a clear vision and you want to make amends. I would be more understanding of that approach than I'm here to make amends. And by the way, this is not PR, despite the fact that I have this album coming out that I want y'all to listen to. And him prefacing the him combating the idea that it isn't PR by talking about how much he's in the algorithm on Spotify, to me doesn't really assist him in dispelling that idea, because to me it assists in people believing that it's about PR, because
Right.
you want everybody to know that despite all of these challenges, you are still someone who is highly sought after in terms of the spins and the algorithms on these streaming networks.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way around, I just wish that it was a bit cleaner for me. I don't want to take away from whatever it is that he's going through, because again, I've experienced it. So, if it is indeed real and he was experiencing manic episodes for 4 months while he was doing some of this music, then that's fine. But why not drive the point home that this is something that you are really making a concerted effort to round out in your life? Why not take that approach instead of taking the approach that you want to make amends before you have an album coming out? There's just an aspect of that to me that's a bit disingenuous. So, as you intimated, there's always a catch with Kanye, unfortunately. There's a point to be made with anything that he grandstands on, which is not the way he was when he first came out. Now everything is just about trying to let everybody in the room know that you are the smartest person around, you're the most insightful person around, you're the most gifted person around, you're the most intellectual person around. There's always a gimmick or a catch when it comes to whatever he's doing from a public relations or a public statement standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And the existence of this album to me kind of pokes a bit of a hole in his balloon when it comes to his making of amends. But be that as it may, who am I to judge? If he wants to make amends and release an album at the same time, go for it. It is America. You can do whatever you want around here for the most part. So who am I to stop him? But for me, it just kind of looks a little weird. And I just wish that he wasn't releasing music at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, and I can empathize with mental health issues, ones that he says that he has. I can empathize with that because I know how real that can be. But at the same time, when you're dealing with somebody that has these episodes, there's only so far that empathy can go, because at that point, due to their condition, you really can't trust anything that they say. And so, should I trust this? Probably not. So I'm going to have to bucket this as another thing that your condition does. Because whether you're getting those spins or not in the algorithm, that's fine. But you pissed off a lot of people who have a large say in a lot of things. So you might want to apologize to be a little bit more commercial. And it might not have to do necessarily with your spins. Probably has to do with other things, like in the fashion world or other things that you've burned bridges because you made an anthem about a man who did genocide against that community. So you might want to apologize to those people, because it is, whether he wants to admit it or not, it's cutting off a certain kind of stream of revenue. Now, the more that he actually does this apologizing, because I don't think he's going to stop here. I think he's going to probably do other things like an interview or something, and he's going to further express his remorse for doing certain things publicly. So at this point, he would have to publicly continue his apology tour. It probably would open the door for more sponsorships or more this, more that, more brand deals or whatever, because at the end of the day, this guy is a cash cow. But you did rub a large portion of financial backing the wrong way. So it's in his best interest, man. He's still a young man, and he's still got a lot more money to make. And again, you cut off you burnt the wrong bridge.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. That's why it's just like, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So he's better off doing this. But again, we're talking about somebody that self-admittedly has manic episodes. So yeah, at this point, for months on end, maybe even years on end, who knows? So at this point, you really can't trust anybody that's on that, because he can just pull the rug from up under you again. Again, this is why I brought up the whole Christian angle that he did, and he was running a whole Christian stick for so long. Came out with a Christian album, I think more than one album. Came out with clothes and all this other stuff to push the Christian stuff, and then right after that, came out with the most sinful music I've ever heard. Okay, just absolutely just corn on wax. So some of the stuff that he talks about. So he did a 180. So here he is again. He did Heil Hitler. So now he's doing another 180, probably just to do another 180 later. So I can't go for anything this guy says. I've been lost trust in this man. He's done way too much flip flopping, for better or for worse. And so I'm just gonna take this as just another thing to make me laugh. And I'll just wait for the next thing that he does that makes me laugh. I didn't know he had a new episode geared up. I guess it's the season just started this year, so this is episode 1. So there's going to be episode 2, 3, and 4 of this whole thing that he's got going on. And I'll be paying attention. I think that this is entertaining, but I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it.
Yeah, he is in the unenviable position
Mhm.
of and I'm assuming that he's being sincere. He is in the unenviable position of having to go through this process while people correctly speculating the proximity of his offended parties to his personal branding and business dealings, right? So
Mhm.
like there is a clear relationship or association proximity between his business interests and
Correct.
those who are in positions to continue to keep those pipelines open
Correct.
and the group of individuals whom he offended. And
Yes.
so, even though you're sincere in saying these things, one can't help but wonder whether there is an extra added motivation for you to do this
Yes.
based upon the fact that you offended people who are literally in the positions to keep the floodgates of your career open.
Hmm.
And when it boils down to that, whether you can say all day long that you're sincere and it's not PR, the fact of the matter is, if you make those amends effectively enough, you'll be able to keep those floodgates open. And so I don't think it's beyond the pale for people to wonder at that point whether the purposes of this are at least in some respect having to do with PR. And he is in a no-win situation because of that. Because whether he's sincere or not, that's nevertheless going to be a question that people are asking. And if it works, it is going to be a byproduct that's met regardless. Like that is what's going to end up happening. Is the people who run these clothing companies and the people who run the movie studios and the people who run the record labels, the people who are in charge from a corporate standpoint, a lot of those individuals do identify with the community whom you offended. If you make amends effectively enough, whether you're sincere or not, then you can continue to sustain your career and your livelihood into the future.
Hmm.
So people wondering whether there is some level of insincerity attached to it because of that reality is reasonable. And he put himself in that position and has no one to blame but himself for it. But I do nevertheless believe that it's a reasonable suspicion and a reasonable question for people to ask. I think he would be better served if he was doing this while completely suspending his music career. But that's just my opinion. People are going to do what they do. So good luck to him, but he's definitely in a lose lose situation. And he's in a lose lose situation that, quite frankly, he put himself in. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And last thing I'll say, man, is he didn't tweet a book like Kyrie did. He didn't, like a post, or he didn't say anything once. This guy went on complete rants, stating anti-Semitic things, all right, and inflammatory things, and then made an anthem about a man that committed a genocide against that community. Sold merch about it. So this isn't just a post. This isn't just a one thing over here, one thing said over there. I mean, this went on for a while.
That's why he's emphasizing that it was a prolonged.
Yeah,
That's why,
prolonged.
yeah, that's why he's
Right
emphasizing that
there.
it was a prolonged manic state.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to be in a prolonged state of apologizing.
That's right.
Okay, so you better go ahead and kiss the rabbi. Go to Israel, kiss the wall. You got a lot of forgiving to do, buddy, because they're not gonna just let you off the hook with one post, because you made more than one post about them. So good luck, bro. But I'll still be tuning in to get a good laugh, man, because there's nothing like Kanye in the algorithm to give me a good chuckle on a daily basis.
Well, if you ask me, man, Kanye lost his fastball.
Oh
Kanye
yeah,
lost his
totally.
fastball. So, yeah, good luck to him, but I think he lost his fastball.
Lost a lot more than that, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. Hell no.